Distinguished guests, dear colleagues and students, dear friends, because I see many friendly faces here. First of all, our team would like to warmly thank the organizing committee of this exciting event for inviting us to participate and, in fact, to give two presentations, one today and one tomorrow, about our research team's work. Open access and open content policies act as a liberating power for culture, for knowledge, for innovation. They are based on the principles of participation, of transparency, and of sharing. So it could be said that the underlying main axiom here is an all-inclusive model of content management. Copyright law, on the contrary, is a proprietary type of protection. Copyright law is protected as a kind of property. And there, the main principle is the exclusion of others from using or exploiting the work without the right holder's authorization. So, normally, the work can be lawfully used if the authorization has been given or if an exception, a copyright exception or limitation applies. Creative Commons licenses aim to mind the gap between these two conflicting priorities. They are not a demolition or a negation of copyright law. They are based on copyright protection. So, Creative Commons are not an alternative to copyright law, but simply an alternative way to license copyright law. Creative Commons are based on the participative model of a network of affiliates all over the world, which are responsible to ask us as ambassadors for Creative Commons and are mainly responsible also for the translation, the implementation, the hosting, the promotion, the dissemination, and even the making Creative Commons licenses better understanding by the public. This is due on a jurisdiction basis and mainly and normally for a specific languages or for more specific languages, too maybe, depending on the jurisdiction. The University of Cyprus has been appointed by Creative Commons as the Creative Commons affiliate for Cyprus. Our research team works on a volunteer basis. Our research team, which is composed by academics, by law students, by trained lawyers, with the collaboration of a network of valuable external partners, will translate, implement, host, and disseminate the Creative Commons licenses in Greek for Cyprus. Now I will give the floor to two members of our team, Alexandros and Konstantina, who will briefly present the functions, the multiple and rich functions of Creative Commons licenses, and also our research team goals and priorities.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. First of all, we will start by some definitions. We will start by saying what Creative Commons are. So, Creative Commons is a non-profit in general, is a non-profit organization that enables the sharing and use of creativity and knowledge through free legal tools. Now, before we proceed, we will see a video that specifies and simplifies how Creative Commons work.
When you share your creativity, you're enabling people anywhere to use it, learn from it, and be inspired by it. Take the teacher who shapes young minds with work and wisdom from around the globe, and the artist who builds beauty out of bits and pieces she finds online, and the writer whose stories use ideas and images crafted by people he's never even met. These people know that when you share your creative wealth, you can accomplish great things. They and millions of other people all around the planet are working together to build a richer, better, more vibrant culture using Creative Commons. To understand Creative Commons, you need to know a little bit about how copyright works. Did you know that when you create something, anything, From a photograph, to a song, to a drawing, to a film, to a story, you automatically own an all rights reserved copyright to that creativity. It's true. Copyright protects your creativity against uses you don't consent to. But sometimes full copyright is too restrictive. What about when you want all those millions and millions of people out there to use your work without the hassle of coming to you for permission? What if you want your work to be freely shared, reused, and built upon by the rest of the world? Luckily, there's an answer. Creative Commons. We provide free copyright licenses you can use to tell people exactly which parts of your copyright you're happy to give to the public. It's easy. It only takes a minute and it's totally free. Just come to our website and answer a few quick questions like, will you allow commercial uses of your work? And will you allow your work to be modified? Based on your answers, we'll give you a license that clearly communicates what people can and can't do with your creativity. You don't give up your copyright. You refine it so it works better for you. Welcome to a new world where collaboration rules. It didn't even exist just a few years ago, but now there are millions and millions of songs, pictures, videos, and written works available to share, reuse, and remix, all for free. Want to work together? Then join the Commons, Creative Commons.
Okay, it's fine, yes. Thank you very much. There was a bit, some problems with quality, but I apologize about this. So, we will try now to break things down. Now, why Creative Commons? Creative Commons, in general, give people the right to share, use, and even build on the works that you have created. They give you flexibility. For example, you can choose to allow only non-commercial uses. They protect people who use your work, so they don't have to worry about copyright infringement as long as they abide with the conditions that you have specified. The content of the Creative Commons is free and legally coherent. There's a giant pool of CC licenses available to you. With hundreds of millions of works available, such as songs, videos, academic papers, etc., with more being contributed every day. Our mission is to develop, support, and steward legal and technical infrastructure that will enable the maximization of digital creativity, sharing, and innovation. Our vision is to realize the full potential of the Internet, the full potential of the Internet in terms of universal access to research, education, with full participation in culture in order to drive a new era of development, growth, and productivity. Sorry. Now, Creative Commons help legal and social system to realize the idea of universal access to research, education, and culture, which is made possible by the Internet. Copyright in general was created long before the emergence of the Internet. That creates some problems. It's hard to legally perform actions that we take for granted on the network. For instance, copy, paste, edit, or even post to the web. So the default setting of copyright law requires that all of these actions to have explicit permission granted in advance. To achieve the vision of universal access, CC provide a free, To achieve the vision of universal access, Creative Commons provide infrastructure which is free, public, and standardized. So, what Creative Commons wants to do is to bring a balance between the reality of the Internet and the reality of copyright laws. So, in terms of this infrastructure, Creative Commons provide copyright licenses and tools that balance Creative Commons licenses and tools that balance the traditional all-right reserves that copyright law creates. The creators are allowed to keep their copyrights in a standardized way, in a simple and standardized way, and allowing certain uses of their work. Some right reserved, what the Creative Commons bring forward in order to realize the full potential of the internet. So, now, at the present, we are in a process of a copyright reforms in terms of open licensing, etc., in order to create a greater access to knowledge and culture. Creative Commons want to build infrastructure while they, based on their users, to create the commons themselves. What we're working at now through our teams and Creative Commons in general to increase the adaptations of these tools and to support and listen our users. Now, at this point, we will move forward to the different licenses presented by Mrs. Constantina Marco. Thank you very much.
Now, to focus on the licenses themselves. What they do is that in a simple and standardized way, they grant copyright permissions to individuals, large companies, and institutions, and this constitutes a change from the traditional copyright law of all rights reserved to a more open system. The combination of tools and users of the licenses produce a great pool of content, which then can be copied, distributed, edited, remixed, and built upon. The design behind, the design behind the licenses is that copyright experts have formed them to be legally solid, globally applicable, and responsive to users' needs. And they all have certain features in common. The first is that they help creators retain their copyright, while at the same time they allow others to copy, distribute, and make uses of this work. They ensure that the licensors do get the credit due to them, and they are applicable worldwide. Their duration is for as long as the applicable copyright lasts. The licenses function as the baseline upon which licensors can grant additional permissions to their work apart from the all rights reserved traditional approach, and they can decide how this work will be used. The first question that a licensor must ask himself when deciding if they would choose a license or not is, do I want to allow commercial use of my work or not? And the second, do I want to allow derivative works of my work or not? There are certain limitations to what the licenses can do for the licensor and the licensee. Number one, they do not affect freedoms granted by copyright law. Instead, the licensees still have to get permission, firstly for whatever the law reserves exclusively to the licensor, so the original creator, and secondly, for whatever use is not licensed by that particular license that is chosen of Creative Commons. The licensees also must credit the licensor in every case. They must keep copyright notices intact on every copy of the subsequent work, and they also must link to the license from copies of this work. Lastly, licensees cannot use technological measures to restrict access to others. Now we'll take a look at the licenses one by one in descending order, starting from the most open, more open to the least open. The first is the most open. It's CC BY, attribution. With this license, you can distribute, tweak, remix, and build upon someone else's work, even commercially, so one can make money through this work. However, the obligation is that you must credit the creator of the original work, and this is an obligation that runs through every Creative Commons license. The second is CC BY SA, which means attribution share alike. With this license, you can do the same as the previous one, so distribute, remix, and modify someone's work, even make money out of this. However, the license under which you will license your work must be identical to the one that you received it. So this is the meaning of share alike, sharing your work the same way that you received it. Yes. The third is attribution, no derivatives. In this license, you can still distribute and use commercially someone else's work. However, you cannot distribute any derivatives of that work that are tweaked and remixed by yourself. So, for example, we have a DJ who would like to use the work of a musician. They would not be able to make any modifications to this work, only distribute it as it is. The fourth, and now we're going into the the least open licenses, is attribution non-commercial. With this license, you can still distribute, remix, and modify work. However, it cannot be used in a commercial way. So you, as the licensee, cannot use the work to make money out of it. The fifth is attribution non-commercial share alike, which means that the work can be distributed, remixed, however, non-commercially. So again, you cannot make money, and you must distribute the work in similar terms under which you got the original work. And the final is attribution non-commercial non-derivatives, CC BY and CND, which means that you can only download and share the original work, not make any modifications to it. You cannot use it commercially, so you cannot make money out of the work that you will distribute or share. And there can be no derivatives, so you as an artist or user cannot remix, tweak, or build upon this work. And as I said in the beginning, all of these licenses require that the original creator must be credited.
Now, we'll move forward to the Cypriot context. Right now in Cyprus, there are different institutions and actors that already use the CC licenses. The CC licenses, however, must be formally implemented in the Cypriot framework. In terms, first of all, of safety, they have to be comprehensive and coherent in order to provide a legal shelter, and at the same time, they have to be effective in terms of accessibility and distribution. Now, we face quite a few difficulties during this problem, quite a few challenges. First of all, we have to face the Cypriot legal system, which is a mixed legal system, combining elements both of civil and common rights traditions. Additionally, we have to focus, take into consideration the Cypriot copyright laws and intellectual property laws at the same time. Thirdly, we have to take into consideration the diverse voices across Cyprus, the multiculturality that already exists, the different communities, etc., and of course the different clients. And thirdly and finally, we have to take into consideration the statutory bilingualism of Cyprus, and we have to consider it for further cooperation in the future. In terms of our plans, what do we want to do, there's a specific schedule that we plan to implement and bring forward. First of all, the Cypriot affiliate team will focus on the establishment of partnerships between different clients in the private and the public sector. Additionally, we will focus on, we'll try to do a popularity rate estimations in order to realize our audience, our target audience, in order to realize the needs of this audience. We plan to do different advertising events, public relation, PR events, and workshops. Also, furthermore, we will try to construct a communication system between our clients and our affiliates. Moreover, we will attend different organized and local international seminars to gain expertise, to build expertise, to gathering relevant information, etc. And finally, we will plan to collaborate with different Creative Commons teams from other jurisdictions, from other countries. We have targeted quite a few institutions, for instance, the Cyprus Ministry of Education and Culture, the Cyprus Chamber of Fine Arts, different universities such as the University of Cyprus, the University of Nicosia, and the European University, different museum art galleries, non-governmental organizations, etc. And we will expand this list in the process. Now, in order to realize how Creative Commons can be used in a country, in a state, you can see different other examples of uses in other states. First of all, in Berlin, Germany, you have the SoundCloud, which is a sort of music sharing community. Artists upload their works in the full suite of the CC licenses, and they can, and the users can access the artwork of different well-known artists and labels. In a regional level, we have the OER Africa, which is a network of projects. They require an active participation of educators and other stakeholders in order to improve the education systems in Africa. In a global scale, we have the Public Library of Science, which is a non-profit scientific and medical publishing venture. There are high-quality and high-profile journals that are immediately available with no charges and no restrictions in the web. And however, the only obligation is through the CC licenses that the users have to cite the author and the source. Now we'll move forward to our final part. Thank you very much.
So as a beginning to Creative Commons Cyprus, we took the initial action of having a survey. This survey was primary, so the purpose was to get to know the feeling of how much Creative Commons licenses are known in Cyprus, by what institutions, and so forth. The targeted group was Cypriot institutions and stakeholders, and current or potential Creative Commons license users. And the response rate was 66.7%, so 2/3 answered. And we will present these responses. In the question, do you know anything about Creative Commons copyright licenses and tools? We had half and half. 5 respondents said yes, and 5 said no. And if they have ever used the Creative Commons license, 6 of them said no, and 4 said yes. It's curious that there is no legal context for the use of the licenses, but, and in the third question, if yes, to what creative work did you grant copyright permissions? We have several answers. 3 of them were for presentations. 1 of them was for the institutional depository of the Cyprus University of Technology, and 6 of them did not give an answer. And we also had a question to rank the licenses from 1 to 6 in ascending order according to the frequency of use. And we can see here that the most used license is attribution, yes, from the first respondent, and from the second is attribution non-commercial, and from the third is attribution non-commercial share alike. When the respondents were asked how could they use the licenses in the future, we had the following answers. 1 is for learning, educational material, and commercial use of derivative materials. 1 was for blogs, websites, presentations. Then you have institutional depositories and digital collections, Greek ebooks, and photographs, paintings, and texts from websites. The findings show us a certain trend. We know now that several institutions and stakeholders are aware of Creative Commons license, and they have basic knowledge and they use it regularly. However, an equally important number is not yet familiar, and they don't know much about the licenses yet. The actual and potential usage can be educational, cultural, professional, and in the future we have a great potential for the licenses to be used by different institutional and societal actors. And also to mention lastly, before questions, that right now our team is working on the license 4.0, which is a license that combines is made for universal application, and now we're in the process of translating it and putting it into use. So the floor is open for questions. Thank you.
It's not a question, it's just to say thank you and congratulate our students and the team of Mrs. Synodinou. This is a very promising initiative, especially in Cyprus, when we are trying to find our way in Creative Commons. So I want to say thanks and just keep working together for the better situation in copyright and in production, and also open access, to find a way how can we collaborate and make better open access establishment in our country.